Welcome to the TSPR tool training. This training will provide an overview of the TSPR metric and also an introduction to the TSPR tool. Very simply put, the TSPR metric is a ratio of the annual HVAC loads to the annual HVAC carbon emissions. The annual HVAC load is the sum of the heating and cooling loads of the building. In Energy Plus, this would correspond to the ideal loads. In DO2, this would correspond to the sum zone loads. The denominator, which is the annual HVAC carbon emissions, this corresponds to the carbon emissions associated with all components of the mechanical system in the building. This would include the heating coil, reheat coil, cooling coils, chiller, boiler, pump, fans, heat recovery, heat rejection. In order to comply with the Washington State Energy Code, the proposed ratio needs to be greater than or equal to the baseline ratio, and the building needs to meet all other HVAC code requirements. The compliance calculation tool, or the TSPR tool, has been developed as a new module on top of DOE's asset score tool. The asset score tool is a very simplified tool for assessing a building's energy efficiency. As the images would show, the asset score provides a simplified interface for representing a building geometry in a simplified manner. It also uses default loads and schedules as defined by Washington State Energy Code, which requires the use of 90.1 Appendix C, the loads and schedules defined in Appendix C. As defined in the code, the baseline building uses the same lighting and envelope loads as the proposed building. And with this entire simplified approach, the default schedules, etc., the time taken to create a TSPR energy model can be 10% or less of the time taken to create a fully customized energy model. To provide a brief overview of the TSPR tool workflow, this is a web-based tool. You can access it using Chrome or Safari browser. It works best on those two browsers. Through the user interface, a user is required to create and define their proposed building. So TSPR tool has very simplified workflows for defining building geometry, and a user needs to create the geometric representation of their building using the tool capabilities. Washington State Energy Code also has requirements specified for the level of accuracy required for the simplified energy model. And following those requirements, a user can create their building geometry, their building envelope. Lighting power density is based on the use types of the building, and it is prescribed, so a user cannot modify that. And then a user would define the HVAC systems serving the building. All of this information is sent to the asset score tool application, which automatically creates the proposed building energy model using OpenStudio. It implements the Washington State Energy Code rule set to automatically generate the baseline building model. The baseline building model uses the proposed building geometry, envelope, and lighting, but replaces the mechanical system with the baseline HVAC system as defined in the code. It also automatically creates the ideal loads building model, which again uses the same geometry, envelope, and lighting as the proposed building, but replaces the mechanical system with the ideal loads HVAC system in Energy Plus to calculate the annual heating and cooling loads. All of these simulations are then used to calculate the proposed and the baseline building TSPR, and this information is sent to the user in the form of a PDF report. The PDF report, in addition to the proposed and baseline building TSPR, includes additional information about the building. It includes the whole building HVAC site energy use by end use, the heating and cooling loads for both proposed and baseline. For each unique system in the building, it also reports the system level loads for all HVAC end users and the heating and cooling load for that system. The mechanical system schedule information is also reported as defined by the user in the tool. And to facilitate comparison of the proposed building system against the baseline building system, All the baseline system details are also reported in the PDF report. In order to get started with the TSPR tool, you can access it at buildingenergyscore.energy.gov. First-time users would be required to register using their email address and then creating a password. The tool works best on Chrome or Safari, so you should use that to get started with it. To access the tool, you would need to go to buildingenergyscore.energy.gov, where you would log in using your email address and password. If you do not yet have an account, you would need to register to use the tool. The tool works best on Chrome or Apple Safari. This page also has some links to some helpful documents if you are new to using the tool. The Quick Start Guide is a great document to look at, and there is an example data entry process also listed in the HVAC system data entry example. Once you've registered and logged in, you can log into the tool and you would see 3 tabs for Asset Score, TSPR, and Audit Template.